everyone. Welcome to my ghost story channel, The Other Side. My channel recounts my grandfather's journey from the war in Vietnam to the journey through Vietnam to learn about the spiritual stories, supernatural events, and souls who have not passed away. In the previous episode, we heard about the journey of him and his comrades being saved by an old woman and accidentally discovering a soldier's soul wandering in the forest. A very good and humane story. If you haven't watched it yet, you can watch it again. I'll leave the story link below in the description, and if you find it interesting, remember to like and subscribe to the channel to receive notifications about the latest episodes. Thanks, everyone. And now, we will begin today's story. Lullaby. After returning to the unit, Kant's wound became infected and had to be transferred to another place with better medical equipment for treatment. Kwaki and I were assigned the task of escorting Khan and two other injured lieutenants on their way. At that time, there was no ambulance stretcher like there is now. There was only a hammock tied to a long bamboo stick. Each person had one head on their shoulder to walk. From where we lived, it was about more than 30 kilometers, I calculated. It must have taken more than half a day to get there. Taking advantage of the late night, we will set out to avoid clashes with the enemy. I've been familiar with the forest road a lot. As I walked, I kept thinking of images of soldiers in the forest a few days ago. I suddenly shivered, hoping to get there quickly. I didn't know how much poisonous water was left in the sacred forest. Wandering souls anymore? If you say you're afraid, it's not really fear, because if you don't bother them, they won't touch you, and if a living person makes a surprise attack on the enemy side, even if you're afraid, you'll die. As long as there is war, there will be people who die. It's just morning. The brave people stood up and held guns to defend their homeland until their last breath. At that time, after getting over the hill, we followed the stream. Go to the source, and you will arrive. Probably about 6 kilometers more. But after walking for a while, we suddenly heard somewhere in the tall trees, occasionally the sound of a woman lulling her baby. The lullaby sounded resonant, melodious, but very magical, penetrated into my brain, chilling down my spine. Mixed with the sound of a baby echoing in the quiet night, I immediately turned around and asked, "Did anyone hear anything?" They all heard it. T was walking in front of me. His arms and legs were shaking. He turned around and whispered to me, "Brother, can I go later? I'm so scared to go ahead. If she shows up, I'll probably have a heart attack and die." I regained my spirit. After all, as a captain, I have to set an example with courage. I glared at him and said, "Fuck me. If the soldiers are cowardly, if they scare me, I'll shoot them with a gun. Dear brother, I bow to you. Please love me. I'm so scared." His voice whispered as he walked away and turned around to speak. Feeling sorry for him, I also changed his position. The boy had just joined the army and was not yet used to it. Sweat was pouring out, beading on his forehead and soaking his shirt. Other comrades chuckled, causing us to regain some composure. After walking a while, T suddenly stopped, making me almost fall backwards. I turned around and shouted, "Are you crazy?" While walking, why stop? But when I looked at his face, his eyes did not look at me. His eyes were facing far away. His teeth were clenched tightly, trying to whisper, "Dear, there it is. It has appeared." I followed inertia and turned back. With his stubborn personality, not afraid of anything. But when I looked up, I was startled and backed away. Kwok signaled everyone to be quiet and slowly sit down. In front of us in the distance, probably about 20 meters, There was a figure wearing a white shirt hanging between two treetops, looking very much like sitting in a hammock, swinging back and forth, rocking and lulling a baby. The sound kept echoing from near and far, sounding very magical. When sitting and observing closely, I was shocked to realize that the hammock she was sitting in was her hair. Her hair was so long that it could be tied through two tree trunks. Some of it drooped close to the ground, sometimes disappearing and appearing, blurry. Virtual in the night mist. Regaining my composure, I signaled to take a detour, avoiding approaching her. It seemed that the soul had died unjustly here. As I walked, I prayed, "We are just soldiers standing up to protect our homeland. Now I have to escort injured comrades past. If there is anything that would desecrate your resting soul, please forgive me." T followed behind, keeping his eyes closed, trembling and praying as he walked. We followed the bushes to avoid being detected. When he was about to pass by the ghosts of the mother and child, T couldn't bear it anymore and cried loudly. The sound of lullabies was silent. T's cry tore through the quiet night, the baby's cry, the sound of a mother lulling her child. Suddenly screamed in the air, "Why are you disturbing my child's sleep? Isn't it enough that you took my child's life? I will kill all of you." At that time, I quickly dropped the hammock and carried Khan on my shoulders. He groaned because his wound was bleeding again. He grabbed T's hand and pulled him away. I raised my hand to signal Quack. "Run, run quickly. Run after me." T ran very fast. He ran right past us. "Just aim forward and run, run faster." I screamed. Kahan's heavy body slowed my running. I picked him up and ran while looking back. That soul, gliding through the treetops, its hair like two arms, grasping tree after tree like climbing monkeys. Her eyes were red as blood. Her face was white, only two eyes, and no nose or mouth. As she walked towards us, she screamed in the air, "Where are you going? Give me back my children. I will kill all of you." Khan groaned in my ear. Let me down, he's about to catch up, run away. Don't worry about me. I'm going to die anyway, let me down," I shouted. "Shut up, I won't abandon my friends. If I die, I'll die together, but I have to try my best to live first." Just like that we ran through the forest. I don't know how long we ran. The echoing sound of that woman's soul was silent, but I didn't dare turn back and just kept running forward. I was so tired. I stopped at a grove of trees by the stream. T lay panting, whispering, "Let me go home. I'm so scared, ghosts. Ghosts are coming." Quack patted T's cheek gently. "It's okay. She won't follow me anymore. I'm gone, be quiet. The enemy heard him shoot everyone now." After resting for about 5 minutes, we continued on our way. My shoulders were tired. Just as I was about to sit up, I heard someone's footsteps ahead. I signaled everyone to bend down and stay close to the bushes to observe. In my mind, I thought to myself, "I'm almost here. What else will I encounter after coming here? Pray for us to arrive smoothly." A soldier with a gun was walking past us, but it was dark, and we couldn't tell if it was our side or the enemy's side. I sat quietly and watched, while T covered his mouth with one hand, not daring to breathe loudly, while the other hand held the gun firmly. Suddenly, Quack rushed out and kicked the soldier's feet, face down on the ground, bent his arms behind him, and recited slogans that only my side could understand. Luckily, the soldier also responded, stammering, "It hurts. Let go. Ally. Ally." It turned out to be our side, which was lucky, so we were already in our territory. Helped that comrade stand up and walked towards the center of the unit. As he left, Quack said, "Luckily it's our side, but the enemy's comrades have already died. Next time, be more vigilant and don't be negligent like this again." The other comrade scratched his head in concern, and then T spoke up. "Do you know the woman who lulls her baby down by the stream? Just now she forced us to run away." He kept silent as he walked, silent for a long time. We thought he would cry out in fear about that woman, but no, he calmly said, I even know. It's so bad, guys. Go back to your unit slowly. I will tell you, comrades." After a while, everyone came to help Kahand and an injured comrade into the house for treatment. We sat and drank tea together in the yard, discussing the upcoming campaign, but T did not. Holding back his curiosity, he kept asking about that woman. A sergeant calmly said, "She is the wife of a comrade in this unit. A few days ago, the enemy bombed very heavily downstream. We tried to protect this place, resisted very fiercely, but unfortunately that comrade was hit by a bomb. The bomb was thrown directly at him, exploding his body. The wife learned of her husband's death, grabbed her child, and ran out to pick up her husband's body. Burial, we looked at that scene and couldn't hold back our tears, knowing that every day someone died. But seeing the scene of a wife who had just given birth and her husband had passed away was very pitiful. She cried out in the middle of the forest. As we walked, we collected every remaining piece of bone and arm. We tried to stop them, but were unable to do so. After a while, the enemy planes swept even more. They rushed in and shot at the place where we were hiding, the woman and her child. She was also hit and died at that moment. We gathered all the husbands' bodies and buried the three of them together. Sometimes when people patrolling at night, they still see the soul of the woman lulling the child echoing in the night. At first, they were scared, but when they learned that it was the soul of their comrade's wife who had died, it was no longer there. I'm afraid people who died unjustly don't know when they will be freed. Speaking of this, everyone shed tears of emotion. We asked everyone for permission to go to the grave to burn incense. After all, having met and heard about that painful story, we also wanted to do something to help. Comfort the spirits of the deceased. The dead are dead. Hope the spirits will soon be reincarnated and escape. Don't hang around in the world and scare everyone, or escape and pray for the living comrades, so that they quickly won, bringing peace to the country." When I sat down to tell this story, my grandfather also burst into tears. He cried because the war was so cruel. It took away so many of his comrades and compatriots. He cried because he was still alive and enjoying himself. Peace and freedom right now. The story ends here. Thank you everyone for listening. If you have any suggestions, don't forget to comment below so the channel can do better in the future, and please subscribe and turn on the bell to don't miss the next stories. Goodbye and see you again.